It is 3:31 p.m. on June 18th, 2025. I'm calling this meeting of the Maple Broadband Executive Committee to order. First item on the agenda is to approve the agenda as distributed. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion? All right. Hearing none. All in favor of approving the agenda as distributed, raise your hand or say aye.
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 Okay. Actually, I should probably ask you to say aye because I can't see your hands, but I did see Steve's. Okay. So that was unanimous approval of the agenda. Next up is approval of the minutes from June 4th, which I apologize. I forgot to attach them yesterday to the mail. They were on the website, but of course, if you didn't realize that, you wouldn't have seen them. So have enough of you guys read them that you would like to move on them today, or would you like to defer that for next time?
I'm happy to vote.
Okay. Well, I'll entertain a motion to approve then, and let's go from there.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, let's give it to Shannon with a second for Cy. Discussion of the minutes as distributed? No discussion? All right. All in favor of approving the minutes, raise your hand. Oh, no, I can't see that. Please say aye so I can see you. I saw Steve.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? And Nancy's muted, so we can't hear you at all, Nancy. And I can't see you for some reason. I can't see anyone except for Steve.
Aye.
Great. Unanimous
She only
approval of the
has
minutes.
eyes
Wonderful.
for Steve.
I know. Yeah. What can I say? Okay. Public comments. Would anyone like to make a public comment at this time?
Ellie,
Steve, go ahead.
since you can't see who's on the call, there's a Matthew Mills on the call. Are you aware
Matthew,
of this?
I'm aware of this. This is our intern.
I figured
I was
it
going to
might be.
introduce him under my report. I can see who's on the call. I just can't see your faces. I don't know why Teams is doing this to me. Hi, Jeff.
Good afternoon.
I can see Shannon just popped back on. It's so weird. All right. Any public comment? Okay. Steve, over to you for the chair reports.
Okay. This is for information only. Wow. Can you see this map on your screen?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. All right. Some of you are aware of all this. This is information only. It's going to become something we'll be looking for your approval on in maybe a month or two. This is you can see Ripton up in the upper right-hand corner, and you can see 125. And those of you who've dealt with ACRPC in the past know that there's been kind of an ongoing discussion about Old Town Road, which is this road right here. Runs kind of parallel to 125 all the way down to Upper Plains Road in Middlebury. And if you're a telephone type person or power person, you'll notice that when you're driving up the road on 125, there's no utility poles. You can't see any utility poles at all. And that's because all the power and data that's reaching Ripton and reaching the east side of the Green Mountain National Forest follows along this Old Town Road. And there's been plenty of debates about making it into a road that's passable. Right now, it is not passable. Even with in parts of it, you can't even walk it because it's just so overgrown. There's parts that are okay. So this early part here, you can actually drive it. It's maintained by Ripton, and then you get to about here, it's no longer maintained. It's overgrown. There's parts of it that are, like I said, impassable, not even with an ATV. And Green Mountain Power is in the process, as is Velco, moving their important infrastructure underground. And they have been talking about doing this for Ripton and points east for some time, and it's finally coming to fruition. They're going to be burying their power line from here at the very western end of it, of Old Town Road, all the way up to about here, where the road is maintained now. And we've always said, please, please, please include us in discussions, because we would be hard pressed to extend service to Ripton if we couldn't leverage any cable that runs up to Old Town Road. And so we recently met with Green Mountain Power. They've engaged not only Maple Broadband, but also the other data voice utility providers, Consolidated, and I don't know, two other providers. And we're all going to share in the work that's being done by Green Mountain Power. They're bringing in a vibratory plow, and they're going to use, you're going to lash interduct, which is plastic tubing, and we're going to bury it underground. This was part of the permit documentation that was submitted to the federal government about the work, and here you can see a little bit more clearly what it is that's going on. Bright green overhead, so there'll be new lines and new poles going in here. All this purple is going to be underground. Down to here, there's this stream that makes things impassable, so we're going to place 45-foot utility poles, and we're going to run our shared infrastructure up to there, and then the balance of it will be underground. It's not relevant today because we've been given enough time to make sure that we're ready for what needs to be done. We're not furnishing the vibratory plow. That's being furnished by Green Mountain Power, but we will be furnishing the interduct, the HDPE plastic pipe that will be pushed underground with that plow. And then we also have a body that attends to this project. We need to be watching what's going on. And so there'll be a number of people from various vendors participating in the process. What I did just to get a feel for what this was going to cost us, just in terms of material, it's going to be about $5,000+ just for that interduct. And we're going to need some extra hardware there. Green Mountain Power has agreed to allow us to stage our materials nearby in one of their facilities, so we have what we need. And Ellie and I are meeting with JSI to talk about what we want to do and get their input. And we're also, which I'm sure Ellie will bring up a little later on in this meeting, we're meeting at the beginning of next week with Syracuse Utilities, and I hope we can raise the subject and pick their brains. This is the kind of work that they do pretty regularly, and I think we can probably gain some knowledge about it. So at some point, we'll be raising the objective. You're seeking your approval to spend some money to do this work. Now, based on what the uncertainty associated with BEAD, we can't really, we don't believe we can tie this into the BEAD project. We're going to treat it as a separate standalone project. If BEAD doesn't happen, or if it does happen, we're going to just bifurcate it. We're going to do all this as a standalone project. And then if we can provide service to Ripton at the same time, we will. If we can't, we'll just have this pipe running all the way down to here. We'll lash the pipe there at the end of the line so that it's ready for when we plan on using it. My desire is for us to put cable in that pipe so that when the time comes to do the work, we don't need to worry about slogging around in this area, which can be very difficult to get through. It's So mostly just for awareness, I wanted you to be aware of that. I'd say at the rate we're going, we're probably going to have something more substantive. My expectation is there's no reason we can't bid this out. It's not going to be a huge project, but we can certainly bid out the materials. I don't really know. I think it remains to be seen who's going to provide the construction oversight. I think that's going to be the expensive stuff because we have to watch what's going on there. There are multiple providers up there, so we have to be there for the whole time. And when we talk to Green Mountain Power about how long it's going to take them to do, no idea. Could take 2 or 3 weeks. It could take 4, 6, 10 weeks. They don't know what they're going to run into. But you know, we're up in the Green Mountain National Forest. There's probably a lot of stone up there, a lot of rocks, and so whenever we run into that, that's going to slow everything down, and we're just going to suck it up and do what we have to do to track it, because ultimately this is how we serve our town, Ripton. Questions? Nancy?
You said something about the federal government, which of course made me nervous. Is Green Mountain Power trying to get federal money to help pay for this?
I do not know. What I do know is that the permit process, I think probably Ellie's got a little bit more exposure to this than I, but it's very, very time consuming,
Yeah,
and troublesome to get a permit, and all the permanent documentation that is needed has been obtained by
I see.
Green Mountain Power. They gave
And
us
so the permits must be through the USDA, yes?
Yeah, because it's
Okay.
Green Mountain National Forest.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
You bet. Jeff?
What would determine, Steve, as to whether or not we could bring on more customers as a result of this work?
Well, the trick is, we can go back here one moment. Here. The scope right now for this project is just a stretch from here to here. And then if the winds blow in our favor and we can we get funded through BEAD, we can continue to do it. But what we really need to do is reach our hub there, which is right up here. So what we need to do is run cable from here up to here, and then extend service out into the unserved and underserved areas in Ripton. I don't know if I've answered your question there, Jeff, but in general, we've got to be able to reach our hub, and then we also have to pull cable. We're going to have to run cable to any area that is on our list of sites that need attention.
I think I might answer that question by saying the availability of funding to put distribution fiber into Ripton is what will enable us to make use of this route.
Oh,
But to Steve's
okay.
point, it's being dug up now. If we don't go in it now, it would be tremendously more expensive to do it in the future.
Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. I was just trying to figure out whether or not it would lead to revenue at this time. It doesn't sound like it, but it's certainly a prudent expenditure given the circumstances.
Yeah, just to underscore that, we don't want to do this ourselves. It's going to be very expensive, very time consuming.
I'm looking at that topography. I would not want to do anything around here when you had that map up there.
Yeah, nobody wants to do this. It's not going to happen. Nobody's going to go, oops, I forgot something. We'll go back and do it in a couple of years. If we don't do it now, that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
I'm also just curious, when you put down the piping, the conduit, you put it down with fiber inside?
That's one of the conversations I want to have with the providers. My preference would be with the finished product to have fiber and the pipe done all concurrently, so we don't have to worry about getting back there, because some of the information I've read about Old Town Road is that I'm assuming it's going to be in much better shape after this work has been done, because they've got to clear away a lot of brush and whatnot to do what they have to do. So it may be passable, but my worry is that it's going to be still more difficult. So there's the length of the worst case length, one of those pieces of conduit is 1.2 miles long. So there's two ways to do it in general. One is to put the empty pipe in and then pull in the fiber later. There may be some other solutions as well. We just want to make sure we're doing the right thing. I think probably one of the worrisome things is it's not all underground, because we got to go up in the pole, go over the body of water. So we're just going to follow along, and we're going to make sure that we have the resources to do what needs to be done. Does that make sense, Nancy?
Yep, thank you.
You bet. Other questions? So TBD, I'm guessing a month from now, maybe we'll be giving you some numbers and we can make some decisions. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, so for my executive director's reports, before I start talking, I would like to formally introduce Matthew Mills, who some of you may have noticed on the call there, new smiling, friendly face. He is our summer intern from Middlebury College. And Matthew, if it's okay with you, I'd like to let you introduce yourself and give a little bit of your background and some of the things that we've talked about you working on this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. Can everyone hear me all right? Perfect. My name's Matthew Mills. I'm a rising super senior at Middlebury College studying geography, Spanish, and computer science. And I'll be interning this summer to help Ellie out with primarily with two aspects. First, with marketing, just assistance with some geography work, general marketing strategy, etc. And then I'll also be working on some policy work researching the affordability landscape within broadband specifically, as well as comparing it to other similar government affordability programs to try to establish both a working definition of what affordability means, and then also analysis to inform potential policy or regulation regarding like some kind of subsidy programs, or doing analysis to just predict the impacts of any sort of policy change on competition and their sort of revenue and pricing and ability to continue to operate in rural areas.
And also some outreach within Addison County to help figure out where people who might need such assistance are and how to find them most effectively. Because that's something we've talked about before, where with the ACP, for example, we just had no idea. We have no idea when we're looking at our business model or our take rate. We have no idea what the need is. We have no idea where the clusters of people who might qualify for such a subsidy are. We really don't know anything, and that makes business modeling very difficult when we are kind of operating at census block level, which is super granular. So that's Matthew. So welcome to Matthew. I'm really excited to have him on board, and I was really excited. I picked him on the background of, I mean, obviously he interviewed well and had some good relevant experience and ability to think on his feet and work without a lot of direction, but interest in marketing, computer science skills to help with analysis, and potentially doing some lightweight coding or Excel spreadsheet analysis of what we find. And also the GIS. And then after I picked him, we had lunch and I discovered that he was into policy. So I said, oh boy, I've got a project for you, which is something that it's obviously close to Nancy's heart as well, but it's something that I have an interest in, but simply haven't had the cycles to do. And we'll talk about this in executive session, will not have any cycles to be doing this summer. So it's great to have Matthew here to be putting some time into that subject. I think it'll be of great benefits to us as well as to the rest of the state, frankly.
Great.
So. All right. Does anyone have any questions for Matthew? Okay. All right. So for the rest of my reports, we will talk about BEAD in executive session. So part of what I have been doing, we can talk about some of the other details in executive session. But what I've been doing is the last time we met, we discussed the general plans for the capital budget, the non-BEAD capital budget of areas we want to build. So what I can say is I've spent some time refining those, working with public service departments, reaching out to some residents to confirm our understanding of the situation on the ground. and also starting to do the diligence to refine the costs there. I think the main thing which is in my head is that the construction award is the only thing I think which is going to be over $250,000 and therefore needs to be decided by the governing board. And we don't meet in August. So I want to make sure that I have the construction costs well enough understood, hence the meeting with Syracuse next week, that we can go to the governing board with a recommendation for that for July. So that's that. The other a couple of other things. So obviously we finished the 23 audit. I started prior to that in the 24 audit, right? That's taken a little bit of a backseat now with BEAD, which we'll talk about in executive session. But that's something where that's obviously still on my radar because I want to, as previously mentioned, I want to get the capital budget planning done for the critical path item really is the governing board approval, but I also want to get things that can be approved by executive committee in the queue. So I'm busy refining those costs. I'll be reaching out to you soon, Steve, to get some of your thoughts on that, on materials and other items, just to make sure that we have everything that we need to purchase well understood and costed out and are down the path of procurement sooner than later, because that's obviously the critical path to getting going. So other things are kind of necessarily taking a backseat to that. But the 24 audit is high priority after that. And the other two things are, one is obviously continuing to work with London Middlebury on the marketing plan. So Matthew was at the call we just had with them as we're moving to start executing some of those programs quite soon, which is great. There's a photo shoot next week, Thursday, which I think many of you guys are showing up for the headshots for that for the website. But there's a number of things where they wanted to have local photography available before we start refreshing things like the welcome kits and getting some of the actual marketing campaigns, like the Aerial Now promotions, sending out those mailers. So the plan is for those to hit the ground in early July once we've had the photo shoot next week, Thursday. And I've also asked them to put together a detailed plan for the co-branding, just so that we can track and make sure that the co-branding shows up in all the places that it should show up, all the customer touch points. And then the final thing, the website, they're a little bit behind on the website, London Middlebury. They had an illness their side, so they're about a week behind, but we're still aiming for, end of the month, early July-ish to get that up. But I still haven't had eyes on it. It's been promised to me by Friday. So I'll probably be having a look at that Friday night. And then the final thing is financial modeling. So obviously, as you guys know, I had to do a financial model for BEAD. We are obviously going to be having a look at that again for the new BEAD, the benefit of the bargain BEAD. But one of the things we discussed in Finance Committee, and which we will obviously be discussing here as well, is just making sure that we have the diligence to think about it, what a non-BEAD scenario looks like, so that if we get on the path of BEAD in a couple of months, if we're not successful either at state level or we're not successful at NTIA level, and for whatever reason we're not successful at BEAD, we should be having discussions now to understand what the world looks like. So that was mainly what came out of the Finance Committee. We had a good discussion in Finance Committee, and we can talk about that later down on the agenda. But that was really the main, I guess I'm stealing the thunder from the Finance Committee update here, but that was really the main thing, is that to refine both the BEAD and the non-BEAD financial model assumptions and projections, and then bring that back for discussion. So that's what's on my list, and the BEAD we will talk about in executive session next.
I move to find that premature general public knowledge regarding Naples Broadband's business strategy would clearly place us at a substantial disadvantage because it risks disclosure of our activities if they were to be communicated to the public. Is there a second? We got a second from Nancy. Thank you. I move that we enter into executive session to discuss business strategy under Title I, Section 313, subsection A of the Vermont statutes. And we do want this to include not only our executive committee, but also Matthew Mills. Is there a second?
I'll second, but I think you want to have a vote on your first motion. You got a second.
Okay. I keep skipping that and thinking it's okay, but
I understand the reason to just move on, but if you're going through all this,
I'll start doing it on both of them. Not a problem, Jeff. Keep me honest. So on the first motion, we were just suggesting that general public knowledge could have a negative impact on our plans. We have a second. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. And we did the motion
motion.
for Title I, Section 313, subsection A of the Vermont statutes.
And I'll provide the second.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Okay. All right,
Excellent.
I'm going to stop the recording. That was unanimous.